Call the meeting to order. First off, citizens' comments. Have some visitors.
So the procedure is, when it's your turn, you'll stand, give your name, your address, and you'll have 5 minutes to give your comments.
Okay, so we can start with people.
Me?
Yeah, just go ahead and let us know who you are.
Okay, can everybody see me and hear me, or should I move up to the center of the?
Oh, no, it picks up, microphone picks up well and everything. It'll be fine.
Thank you for listening to me. My name is John Reardon, spelled R-I-O-R-D-A-N. And my wife and I live at 260 Park Entrance Drive in the Lebanon Hills plan of Mount Lebanon. I think based on what I can see from a 2016 brick street policy, we're considered Park Entrance East. The reason I'm here is really to complain primarily foremost about the process by which the bricks in front of my house and some of the other residents' house on our street were removed without notice and sent over to Outlook to be installed there. Okay, and the first notice we had something was going on was when somebody in a ProScape truck, a white pickup truck, was spraying white spray painted lines on the street, followed later that day by someone from the gas company. The guy from ProScape said he didn't know what was going to be done. The gas company person said he didn't know, he just saw something on the one call that he had to come out and mark the gas laterals. The ProScape guy said, call the township. But just so happened, the next day is election day, and I was at the polls, and I run into the commissioner for our Ward 3 and was told that, oh, this is necessary because the base of our street is failing. They're going to take up the bricks and they're going to pour a new base and so forth. No mention of using the bricks over at Outlook. So she gave me her card, said, call me tomorrow, which I did, left a message. And then I decided I'd come over here, and I came over here and talked to Rudy, who said, well, it's a people's project. He doesn't have any contract documents. He doesn't have something with the scope of the work. He said he'd been to 3 pre-construction meetings, but didn't have anything he could show me. So when I talked again later to the commissioner, she said, well, there are permit applications and permits, but if you want to see those, you'll have to file a formal right to know request, which I have done. And the response was that they need more time to respond and to let their lawyer look at it. So I happened to see on the internet that this meeting was scheduled, and I figured this would be a time to come and to try and find out who knew what and why we weren't told anything. And I don't know the gentleman, but it would appear that whoever the chair of this group was at the September meeting anticipated exactly this kind of situation, where the bricks would be taken without notice or an opportunity for input by the citizens. I personally like the bricks. They remind me of the industrial Pittsburgh. They're kind of worn, weathered, cracked, chipped, but they're survivors. And I always took pride in the fact that I had them in front of my house. And now they're gone. And you know, I understand the concept, well, that's the way life is, you're gonna have to get over it. But I felt I couldn't let it go without coming down and find out face to face whether somebody in this group knew and didn't notify us, or what the story is, where to go next. I haven't seen any of the documents. So I will tell you that there was no base reconstruction of the street as I understand a base reconstruction. They came, took the bricks up, there was dirt there, they smoothed the dirt, they added a little dirt. They put down some kind of fine gray aggregate, almost like what you'd see at the trotter track down at the Meadows. Maybe even a little finer. I don't know what mesh it would be, to be technical. But it was very fine. They smoothed it over and they put the new bricks down, which are a combination kind of on a gray and a pink color. Now, those bricks they finished the job Friday. Our trash pickup was Friday. So they deferred the trash pickup till today. So the truck came 8 in the morning or something. When I went out to
10
see,
seconds, sir.
the truck had left large black tire marks on this new area.
I saw that already, it's barely done and then there's, because I went over to look at them, I said, what are those marks already?
So
I like to look at my house, I'm right across from John.
Okay, are you ready to take your turn?
Anyway,
I'll
so
need your name.
I saw the marks, yeah.
Yeah.
I was disappointed, they were marked already, they're 2 days old. But you would have noticed it on the old bricks.
I've never noticed it on the old bricks.
Okay. All right.
I would ask if anybody has any questions they would like to ask of me, they may feel free to do it once Sylvia's had her 5 minutes or whatever.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead with your,
Well, I'm not gonna get up, I'm just observing really.
oh, okay.
Same issue, you're here for the same, are you here from the same issue, or are you just here in general about preservation?
Yeah.
Okay, good, okay, that sounds great.
Technical, they stopped before they got to Sylvia.
I'm kinda shy getting up, so it's like.
Okay, you don't have to give a public comment.
There was no real notice how far they were going to go. We were coned off several houses up the street. And they came down on 3 separate days and just kept taking up bricks because they said, well, we need more up there than we have so
Yeah.
far. So
A couple questions about your comment.
Yes.
Was there People's Gas doing work?
No.
Why are the bricks, or was there a brick spot
Proscape.
repair?
Proscape was the name on the
Proscape
truck.
was the name, you said, okay,
Proscape.
so it's a patch brick repair work, that's what happened.
No, there was a brick removal and then a reinstallation of different bricks. I wouldn't call it a patch.
The
or a
construction was
repair.
on Outlook.
Yeah.
So they were taking our bricks, Rob and Peter to pay Paul. And taking them up to Outlook, which is behind me.
So why are they removing bricks from
So
your?
our street
That's
was
what I'd
fine.
like to know. They're both code category 3 streets according to the 2016 policy. As is connected.
Park entrance is preserved, was just adopted with most recent Brick Streets policy as a street to be preserved.
Well, I haven't seen, I
But
can't
that's-
find,
Just for everyone's benefit, yeah.
it was adopted in September, but I haven't seen it. And I know somewhere in the minutes of this group, it said there's supposed to be a 180-day notice period. I don't know if that's 880 days notice of the policy or 180 days notice before they come and take your bricks.
So I don't know at all what happened on park entrance. I'm still trying to understand what happened. Does anybody have any additional information?
With your permission, I'd like to explain.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I received a call after it had already started, so I asked Rudy to explain what was going on, and this is Rudy Sukol, our Public Work Director's answer. And I know nothing beyond this, so it doesn't, any questions that you have beyond that, I'd be happy to get the answers from you, this is all I know. People's Gas installed a new main on Outlook. A lot of the brick that were removed were not good. In order to restore the remainder of the trench, they are going to remove a section of park entrance where it meets the asphalt street. They need to use these bricks since they are weathered and match the dimensions of the brick on Outlook. They will replace the donor section on park entrance with new bricks curb to curb. They are removing about 80 feet.
So on our, like on the list of streets, is Outlook categorized higher? Is it ranked higher?
There's no such thing. There's only preserve and not preserve,
So
not
two
necessarily preserve.
categories.
Yeah.
Interest.
And I'm not sure how it would be interpreted because they put brick on it. So I don't know. The bricks that were removed are no longer made and the bricks they put in there are of different specs. So the policy does not address what kind of bricks are replaced with utility work.
Interesting. Looks like, yeah, opportunity there, maybe.
They saw the bricks that they put in. We could hear one of those masonry saws. They took these new bricks and were cutting them down to size. So I mean, it could have been done that way in Outlook. And Outlook on the 2016 plan is in the same category as we are.
So if I may, heard everything you said. I think this sounds like it was utility work, not municipal work. Seems to me like maybe there's a question of contract enforcement, and then I think Rudy, if I may, if there's an answer, it's probably in terms of the quality of the brick, Public Works looking at whether the brick is reasonably consistent, durable, et cetera. Because I think that probably tariff-wise, that's Peoples Gas's responsibility to put in functionally equivalent brick. In other words, I don't think this is municipality activity. I think this is Peoples Gas activity. That's probably,
But did I understand you to say the bricks were taken from your street and taken to Outlook and then they replaced your hole with different brick? Is that correct?
Correct.
I think I saw these bricks yesterday. Okay, walked my dog over there.
So park entrance or out,
I've never heard of that.
the new.
That's really a bizarre. That's unusual.
They're different looking bricks.
Yes, thank you.
So, I don't know, Matt, you and Phil want to give just a little general background about our discussions and involvement with the brick streets and what we're trying to do. And we may need to add something, it seems like if you're gonna replace bricks, you ought to take them from the streets that are scheduled to be removed at some point anyway, rather than take them from the street that.
Yeah, if I may. Yeah, right. So I think that's my initial question of like, who's doing the work? Our brick streets policy pertains to municipal activities. I don't think it pertains to Peoples Gas activities. But I do think that there probably ought to be some question to Rudy about taking a look at those bricks to find out, look at whether they're functionally equivalent and durable and that sort of thing. I don't have a sense of whether Peoples Gas, whether it's reasonable for them to take bricks from here and move them over there. And I can see they're different bricks.
No, that was definitely Rudy's call.
I hear you. So, yeah, go ahead.
So, no, go ahead.
So then, if it's not municipal work, so we have a new brick streets policy that pertains to municipalities' brick street preservation activities. And we posed a question in our latest comments on the currently adopted brick street policy about the notice when it's due, if it were municipal work, and my thought of it probably needs to be due to the residents before the contract is awarded, because that's the time at which they can meaningfully participate. Once the contract's awarded, notice to them is just notice and doesn't give them an opportunity to participate.
Yeah, I want to talk about that during the policy. I think that's a good, I want to get some clarification. But when a utility comes in, they just come in often because it's a crisis situation and we don't have any notice, something's broken and they
Right.
start ripping up the streets, and we have the standard that they have to repair the street, whether it's brick or asphalt or concrete, and so that it's meets what it looked like before they ripped it up. And then we review that and have some more specifics on that. So they're obligated to make the brick street look like it was before they ripped it up.
When those sort of activities occur, when a gas company or someone is coming in for whether it's a crisis situation, it's like extreme, or whether it's something like whatever happened here, are they required to go to the municipality for any sort of permit on any work that they're doing?
I think it depends on the situation.
Because my question would be, does our brick street policy, if it applies to municipal activity, would it also then cover municipal issuance of permits? Because if there was a permit issued, that would be an allowance for removal for whatever activity occurred in terms of removal of brick to another place, wouldn't it?
Well, that's a little bit further afield into legal issues than I'd say my expertise. You're really talking about is the issuance of policy. You have a permit, bring it within the ambit of our policy. I suspect the answer to that is no. I don't think that affects the question of whether the utility is replacing it, putting it back into functional equivalent position. I think, to me, that's the bigger issue. So I don't think the simple issuance of a permit means that we can impose our policy on the utility, even as a basis of withholding the permit. It's my suspicion.
And Rudy's email said that they found that the bricks were not good after they were pulling them out. So I don't know that that was a known condition beforehand. Certainly they do, in most cases, set the bricks aside and then go back and put those same bricks in, but it sounded like they were not usable.
Sounds like some of them at least got used.
The ones they pulled in Outlook. So we haven't run into anything quite
Yeah,
like
I
this,
haven't either.
basically robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
Because they could have put temporary fix in an Outlook until they could find appropriate bricks, I would think. I've never heard of them going to another street on our list of protected streets and taking the bricks away from that. Because they would still have the same criteria, I assume, of replacing it as it was, right? It should match, so.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, that
We have not heard of anything like
frequently
this.
doesn't quite happen,
So,
This was a 3-month project at least, was not an emergency situation. And as I say, we saw the guys marking the street. On Monday, the cones went up on Tuesday and the bricks were starting to go on Thursday. That was it. There was no notice given to us, whether there was notice given by somebody to the people on Outlook or connecting. I just, I'm, with all due respect, I mean, it would seem to fly in the face of having a policy to say that people like utilities that work with these streets can just come in and take them up and the township can't do anything to prevent it. And I am told, and I've asked in the right to know for copies of the permit applications and permits, because I was told by the commissioner that their permits were issued for the work. So my complaint really is at this point, it's done. But that I really, really find it offensive as somebody who's lived in Mount Lebanon since 1965 and at this location since 1982 to not be given notice. There's this saying that you should not bother to ask permission beforehand because it's much easier to ask forgiveness later. And, this kind of falls into that category. I just don't understand why. I didn't know if this board knew and wouldn't say anything, or if it's the commission that knows, or if it's just the Department of Public Works, but somebody knew, and, that's what I'm here to complain about, frankly.
So let's give us some time. We'll look into it before our next meeting, and if you want to come back at the next meeting, or if it's
If
easier
I can,
for
I
you.
will, sure.
Yeah, and unless be easier for you to leave your contact information, and then we can have someone follow up with you about.
The ORO has all my contact information. The
Or
Open Records
Bonnie.
Officer, Miss Gross, Bonnie Gross, is there Bonnie?
Cross.
Cross, I'm sorry, Bonnie Cross.
She's here till December 1st.
Okay, okay.
Again, thank you very much.
Yeah.
well, thank you for bringing it to our attention, because we did not.
We did not know,
about this.
just to clarify that.
Yeah.
And I think as background, we're trying to get better language into the policies to do exactly what you're saying in terms of giving people notice so that people have time before something happens. So that's one of our goals in protecting the street is to do that. So we're working on that right now.
If I read the minutes correctly, you folks are gonna be twilighted here in April. Am I wrong about that?
We're actually actively discussing the policy right now on exactly that point.
And you were just regular citizens who served
Yes.
Mount Lebanon for all these years.
Right, but we're also an advisory board to the commission. So I mean, we proposed a policy, and I suspect the minutes you're talking about were proposed provisions of that policy that we may have proposed in terms of process. The commission then deliberates, sends it to the municipalities council. That results eventually in a policy that they adopt. So the fact that a proposal is contained in our minutes doesn't necessarily translate into the policy that ultimately issues from the commission.
The commission
But
has
on
to
this
pass.
issue, on this exact issue, we're sensitive to the notice. We have notice concerns too.
So yeah, so we're gonna get,
discussing that.
yeah, we'll get back to our agenda, and if you want to stick around, one of the agenda items is to talk a little bit more.
No, I'm gonna stay for the whole meeting.
Okay, great.
Can I just say
Okay.
one thing?
Sure, and then usually we don't.
You know, who knew about it was Commissioner Wilson. knew all about it ahead of time, because she went with Rudy to check out the street. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it is,
It's her ward, and she knew all about it, so you can get a lot of information from her.
That's why I've already started an email to her and to Rudy, and I copied our chair, Phil, on that, so that we can get a little more information on that. So, we should have something we can.
All right.
Okay.
All right, we need to move on with our agenda.
I'm gonna go because I have to pick up dinner
Okay,
for the granddaughters.
all
So
right, Sylvia.
thank you.
All right, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Thank you.
Take a look at our October 23 minutes. Everybody had a chance to peruse those. There a motion to accept? Second. All those in favor? Aye.
I'm abstaining because I was not at the meeting.
Me too.
In my report, I don't have too much. I did want to mention something that actually I got from a couple of different sources. The Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission has a new micro grant program for community records to help any community organizations to work towards being able to archive historical records and documents and so forth. And it's only $1,000, not a lot of money. I think they're trying to award a lot of these. I know the Historical Society is considering it. There is an online web meet on the 29th of November webinar. I'm going to attend that to find out more about the eligibility, because it occurs to me this may be something that as a board, we need to notify other elements of the community who might be wanting to preserve or need to preserve records and archive things. They don't have the foggiest idea how to get started, and a little grant like this might be very helpful for them to start being able to preserve those records so that they can be properly archived down the road. So I will look into that, report back on that at our next meeting about that. But I think it's something we might want to consider passing along to the community. Basically, that's all I have. Wendy? You're up.
Yeah, so the comp plan, I know we have the comp plan also on the agenda, but I just want to beg you all to take a look at it and to give a lot of input if you haven't already. Did anybody already give some input?
I tried to, but I don't know if I tried looking and like looking for where to like put in comments, and I was like kept referring to the language in your email about it. And I don't know if it's because I was looking at it on mobile and I just couldn't find where to put it, but it showed like the comprehensive plan. You could go through like the different colored levels and everything.
Ascendlevo.com.
Well, yeah, but I used the link that was in your email.
Oh, maybe I linked directly to the plan. Sorry about.
I think you did. And so that's why I was looking on the plan and I was like, I don't know where to put it in. So I'll go to the main website because you had linked to the.
Sorry.
So right on the home page on
Got
the
it.
front, you can click on the plan, and then underneath it, it says
Okay,
comments.
now I'll do it, cause I was like, where do, maybe they'd already closed, but that's really quick window.
And my tip is just to like submit as you think of something, because the plan is so big. I found that I was like kind of taking notes and then trying to think about what I wanted to comment on, and then I like got interrupted and I had to like start over. So like any little thing, even if you submit one comment on the possible new like slogan, that's a good one. I don't wanna. Yeah, I want you to see it yourself and kind of experience it. Our current slogan is a community with character, and there's a new proposed slogan or whatever. You know, just jump to any random page, read it, and throw a comment
So
over.
any kind of comment
Please.
is welcome.
Please.
Although they do ask you to key it to a section, so each section is labeled and they want you to read that section and then comment on that section as opposed to just
Like random, yeah, you have to like tie it to something.
so that they can organize the comments.
Put it in context.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, is that not what you wanted? You wanted to just kind of give
Well-
a general comment?
Yeah, I have. I didn't know what they were really looking for. It's such a broad plan. It's like, how much do you comment on or don't comment on,
Well, they're looking for specifics only because if we go back to being general, they've already done all the general comments. They want specific comments on the recommendations that are being made. What do you like, what do you not like, what do you need to see there? That's why they're asking it to be targeted.
Okay. I'll go back and do it again. We have till December 5th, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But don't think about it. Do it
No,
now.
but I'm just I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
too
yeah.
late.
Yeah, you're definitely not too late. And then the other big thing is it's budget month for the commission. The budget's been working in some, people have been working on it for many months now, but now is when it's public and the commission's reviewing it in the budget workshop sessions. You're welcome to join. If you want, I can give you the dates. We can come virtually, you can come in this room. There's lots of good stuff that we've worked through, but the big one that is, still to be decided, but what we're looking at is how we're gonna pay for the trash and the recycling contracts. Costs have gone up over 30%. It's obviously expensive. We don't have the money in our current budget without substantially cutting services. So we're looking at raising taxes or issuing a fee, and the majority of the commission right now is leaning towards the fee, which nobody likes, but the reason I like the fee as opposed to taxes is that it really charges the true cost and passes on the true cost to the resident, and we don't have much control over what those costs are right now or what they're gonna be in the future. I expect them to continue to go up in the future, and that way in my mind, it seems more equitable and it's more sustainable moving forward. We don't have to keep raising taxes or trying to figure out how we're gonna pay for trash and recycling. Also, hopefully, maybe in 5 years, if we are able to pull something off with neighboring communities, we might be able to bring some of this in-house. That could potentially be cheaper than what the options are on the open market, or even if they're the same price. We could have a lot more higher level of customer service, so it could be a higher value to our residents, and we could have a lot more options in what we are collecting, how we're collecting it. Instead of single stream recycling, we could have different options for recycling. And that would yield a higher recycling rate, just as an example. Compost just as another example. There's a lot of things that our residents have been asking for many years now, and we're just limited on what our vendors can provide. So by pulling it out and making it a fee, it's gonna be a lot easier to transition, because that mindset's kind of already there and we're used to paying for it and budgeting for it in the future. But it sucks, and it's $300 a year. So it's $290 the first year, and then it's gonna slowly go up, and it'll get as high as, I think, $390 and then $410
in the fifth year.
Is it waste management, Mindy?
No, we didn't go with Waste Management. Waste Management did give us a comparable financial bid to, not Republic Services, Westmoreland, but it's Westmoreland.
It's Westmoreland.
But Westmoreland was able to offer us the almost unlimited trash and recycling pickup, and Waste Management was only offering us a single bin of each. They didn't care about the size of the bin. It could have been up to 96 gallons, but the cost was given to us as one bin for recycling and one bin for trash.
So for example, if you couldn't carry 96 gallons up your steep driveway and you asked to put those 2 bags into 2 bins, they said no. You'd have to pay for an extra bin, even though it still was the 5 bag limit, right? Which we didn't understand. Like,
And
if it's 5 bags, why isn't it
5
5 bags?
And if you have your bags outside of the bin, they're not gonna pick it up. If your bin doesn't close, they're not gonna pick it up.
Seems like they're using more automated
Yeah, they want automated.
grabbers that are
Yeah, that needs to fit into
handling
the
it on a
model.
per bin basis. Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Understandable for their backs of their workers, I guess. but-
And the workman's comp.
Completely
Exactly.
understandable. It's all bad trade-offs.
Well, just so you all know, I go to municipal meetings all over Allegheny County as part of my job. And trash costs are going up across the board. Like every municipality is grappling with this situation, just so you know, it's not,
Interesting.
We're not doing anything wrong here.
no, you're not doing anything wrong.
Opportunity.
What we can offer the residents is a nice, easy way to pay online, see your bills online, see all your bills together in one system, including stormwater and your taxes,
Oh, that's great.
installments. So that's what we're gonna roll out next year. Next year, sometime.
Well,
Somebody
the bill is generated in January, will be sent out on February 1. The discount period runs through the end of April, and the face value goes through August.
But there'll be an electronic option.
The way electronic option, yes, and it'll bill at the same time as stormwater.
So you'll get a paper bill in the mail in the same envelope as stormwater, and you can pay that online, and you can see if you've paid it online. You
Get a
can-
receipt, print your own receipts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
See
fantastic.
if you paid your taxes online as well, your property taxes, school taxes, all that, not county taxes. We can't help you there. Almost everything. So those are the 2 big ones. Comp plan, we can talk about that more later. On our agenda.
Okay. Laura, you have anything for us?
I do not.
Okay. All right, on to the brick streets. Matt has given us, I think, some good ideas in terms of some ways we need to examine the Brick Street policy, which, I'll remind you, the Brick Street policy has been passed by the commission. Right? And so we're talking about revisions to the new existing Brick Street policy. Because it didn't touch on some things that we felt were important, since we've been dealing with this, well, Matt and I, for years,
Yes.
literally, playing around with it. And as we heard tonight, some of these issues are still propping up. So we've asked everybody to take a look at it. I know I've heard from most of you that it looks good, his revision, his suggestions. Matt, I think we'd like to go ahead and let you, if you want to just reformat that into like a red line thing, get rid of the dialogue boxes.
Can I ask a question for clarification?
Yeah.
It's on one of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's on the biggest, I think the piece we care about the most, the notification. Okay, so residents on affected streets and the HPB, love it, or whatever the HPB turns into, right? Do we need to account for
You
that?
did that earlier in the
Did that
document.
earlier, okay. Will be notified by letter or other formal communication upon the earlier of, one, the classification of a brick street as replaced with other materials, or two, the commission's award of a contract for street reconstruction, and follow-up information will be shared on the municipal website. I think what we want to do is really both of those options, because they're going to be many, many years apart, and different residents are going to be living in that street, and they're definitely not going to remember. But for the first piece, for the one that says notified by letter of the formal communication upon the earlier of the classification of a brick street as replaced or other materials, that's been done. Right? Because the policy's been set and now those streets are designated. So is the HPB suggesting that now there's a letter that goes out to all those residents on that street?
It has been done right now. There's also a provision broadly that allows municipality to waive any provisions of the Brick Street policy, which to me implies changing the designations of streets. And to the extent that the municipality is going to do that, to me, that should warrant further notice. I mean, I feel like there's a sort of a municipal democracy process here of, I think we've determined all brick streets can't be preserved. But I think that we've determined brick streets are important to people and they want notice, among other things,
Mhm.
and an opportunity to participate in that decision.
Mhm.
And I think that can result in some people showing up at the commission, which I think is a sort of healthy dynamic.
Yeah.
People need that notice at a time when they can still participate. That's
So, okay, so let me walk through how the process works, like the street reconstruction things. I think there's a possible step we might want to add in here. So right now there's policy, the policy's already approved, and there's streets that are designated, preserved, designated not. That could be the trigger, that could be trigger number one, like maybe the HPB is suggesting that all those streets get notified, all those people get notified. If we do that, we're gonna have people come to our meetings for a while. And I don't know, I mean, if you wanted to make that recommendation, I don't know if you want to go down that path or not, because we're not actually, their streets not at risk, or maybe not at risk for 30 years or 20 years.
You want to notify all the residents that they're either on the preserve list or.
That's what I'm asking, because that's what this contract said, I mean, this is what policy says to do already. The way that's written right now, it says we must notify all the residents right now. If that's what you mean, is that, I guess I'm sort of asking, is that what you
I
mean?
don't think
Is that what you
that
meant?
was what we were proposing in our
Okay.
previous draft. I'm wondering if that's a change that was made by the commission or maybe the solicitor.
The one that I have that you just said, so this sentence right here.
Right, what I'm saying is
Oh, yeah,
there was a
you didn't
point at
do that.
which
Yeah,
we articulated a policy sensitive
Yeah.
for review, and the document that came out of the commission was somewhat different than what we proposed.
right.
What page are you on, Mindy? Or
Uh,
where are you? What section?
Page 3
wanna
of
say-
5. B,
Sure.
yeah, please go over it, go anywhere. And then while you're doing that, I could just address the group. So the process that I think there's a step that we might wanna think about. Before the award, the contract award is made, which is what's already in that contract right now. That's a voting meeting where the contracts are given. The contracts are voted on by the commission and the award's granted. That you've covered that already. There's another meeting that's a public discussion. It's not a voting meeting, but it's a public discussion where the commission is presented usually around February of every year. What streets are going to go out to bid, what's going to be included in that RFP for reconstruction. And there's always add alternates on there because we don't know what the prices are gonna come back, but anything that's, you know, the primary and the add alternate, and commission's made aware of that in a public meeting. That could be a trigger for a notification, even though it's not guaranteed that those streets would be reconstructed because we don't know what the dollars are gonna be. So we can't always award everything and it's just based on what we've already budgeted. We'll budget 2.2 million usually for street reconstruction every year. And then we'll put it all out to bid. We'll put out maybe 3 million of work or 2.8 million of work. Hope we get lucky and figure out what the cheapest options are and make it all work. You know, sometimes it comes in under, sometimes it comes out. You're following. We throw out more streets than we actually have the money to reconstruct every year intentionally.
So how would you word that? Like,
That-
notice would be given 2 weeks prior to that particular meeting?
Well, or right after the meeting, because nothing's voted on, and there's a good 1 to 2 month lag before that voting meeting.
Well, when do they have the opportunity to come forth and make a public comment?
In those 2 months or 6 weeks, let's say. Let's
At
call
what
it.
meeting? Like they
Um,
can just come.
Yeah, and the same team that they same.
At the discussion
Like,
meeting.
to a-
Yes, so right now the channels are always, you can email your commissioner, but, or call them if you like, but then you can come to the public 8 o'clock Tuesday meeting. It's twice a month, so every other Tuesday, second and fourth Tuesdays. We have a public comment then, or come to the preservation as well, in addition to public, but that doesn't get in front of the commission, which is probably what you've been going to do. So there will be a very minimum, I mean, I have 3 commission meetings, but probably more between that window usually of time.
So Mindy, this section,
Huh?
you know, the entire section about brick streets at the end of their useful life. So it says, A, when a brick street is deemed to have reached the end of its useful life, it will be included on the commission's list, for potential street reconstruction projects. Then streets classified as preserved will be reconstructed with brick. Streets classified as replaced with other materials will be assessed by municipal staff and engineers. The best materials, and the HPB will be notified. Then this provision, last provision is residents on the affected streets of the APB will be notified by a letter or other formal communication upon the earlier of the classification of a street as replaced with other materials, or the commission's award of a contract for street construction. So this had said, I think, just will be notified upon the commission's award of a contract for street construction, which we're talking here about streets that are gonna be replaced with non-brick.
Correct, that's all the people, care about,
So at the time that it's awarded, there's nothing anybody can do about that. That contract's awarded.
Agreed, so let's do it earlier.
Right. What I'm saying is, and sorry to interrupt,
Oh, not at all.
we're talking here about circumstances where a brick street is gonna be replaced with non-brick. To me, that's the point at which residents would be notified.
Well, what is that trigger?
It triggers an opportunity if they want to for them to participate in that decision or at least approach the
But
commission.
what happens? Like, I was still not following you. Is anyone else following me? What
Yeah.
occurs that's gonna make that trigger?
Sorry, that's the decision on the part of the commission about whether to replace with brick street or with other material. So if the commission or Department of Public Works makes that decision, that's when those notices would go out to people living in that street.
So the decision's been made in the policy?
No, the decision, to me, this policy has a set of streets that have been decided,
Yes,
these are made of brick, we're gonna keep these of brick.
okay,
We're talking here about brick streets at the end of their useful life, so as time goes on, decisions are made about, you know, looking at a street, query, does that, is it at the end of its useful life? The answer is yes. Then the decisions can be made probably by engineering about, does it make sense to
Uh-huh.
replace these with brick or not? Go ahead.
So that's probably the meeting that I'm talking about, that, so somebody Gateway decides this is the end of its useful life, and then they present that to the commission.
And I don't, yeah, and personally, I don't know whether
Yeah.
that's a meeting or not, or whether it's just a recommendation
Uh-huh,
or where in the process that occurs, but I think
yeah,
once that decision is made,
okay, I'm gonna write that
at
down,
least
yeah,
proposed,
proposed,
that's
yeah,
the point at which I think people who live on that street probably want to know and have some measure of right to participate in that
totally agree.
decision.
So I think I know what I need to do to change the wording, if it's okay with you all, to be, to kind of match what the current process is. I tried to do that right now and then get your all approval, because I feel a little uncomfortable changing a policy without.
When you, the current process is when are you notifying?
When the commission is given that recommendation in the public meeting.
To replace with a non-brick.
Yes, because there has not been a notification at that point. in the
Correct.
past.
Correct, there's
And
not, and the
Part of
reason
the
is.
change
Yes,
we've been pushing for now for 5 years.
correct.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
this,
As soon as that is being considered,
From both lists or just from the brick list, the preserve list?
this is just where brick streets that are brick are proposed by Public Works to be replaced with other material.
Even if they're on the don't preserve list?
even particularly if they're on the don't preserve, well, it's not a don't preserve list.
I'm using
Right, right,
shorthand.
right, right.
It's a replace at end of useful life with something other than brick, right? That's what the policy says. So,
So either of
yes,
the,
that
any.
that
put it this
decision
way,
isn't
any
made, their brick street could still live for 20, 30 years before it reaches the end of its useful life. But at the point at which the engineers decide and the commission is considering that their brick street is no longer gonna be a brick street or might not be a brick street, that is the point we need to let them know, so they have plenty of time.
Trigger is Public Works saying, making a recommendation to the committee or the
Yes.
commission that it is not going to be reconstructed. It needs to be replaced with something else. Am I right about
That
that?
sounds
Right,
good.
'cause in the past, they were waiting until a contract had been awarded. And it was even actually was up to the contractor to notify people that they were retaking.
That's
away the
right.
bricks.
You're right.
And that was that first brouhaha on Duquesne was because of that. Those people had no idea anything was happening until the trucks were there. And that was their notification. They knocked on the door and said, we're here to remove your big street today. Basically, and they came storming in here.
And to the commission's credit for the citizen in attendance here, the commission froze all of that until all of this policy could be written. They froze all these reconstruction projects and everything until the policy could get it sea legs.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
So then there's a potential that somebody could move from the do not necessarily preserve to the preserve.
Yes.
Think that there's,
Yeah, I would say there's always that potential, but I think it's more about the public has an opportunity to express their opinion on it.
right.
I don't know
Yeah,
about
this-
moving, yeah,
This policy permits municipality to depart from the policy. So one of my comments was allows who to depart from the policy? To me, that ought to be a commission decision because then that would allow people to participate in it as opposed to Public Works making a unilateral decision to participate from the policy, which is not gonna be. well-
That's why I thought you were just talking about notifications from the preserve list, but this covers everybody, even if you're in the not necessarily preserve list. So I guess my concern from a communications aspect would be that they come and there's probably not much chance that it's going to be reversed at that point because it's already been decided by the commission that they're on the list.
So sorry if I poorly articulated here and poorly drafted. What I meant to have is for notice to go to people who live on streets and to the board. If a street is going to be removed from Brick Street and instead be repaired with something else. To me, that's sort of the operative issue. I don't think everybody needs to be notified anytime something's happened with Brick Street, which I think is a recipe for mayhem. But I do think that, really what they need to know is, hey, your street's about to be torn up and replaced with asphalt, that they want to know.
yeah. So how about if I try, right now, maybe do this meeting, and then after this meeting, you and I can even talk for a few more minutes and just make sure I get get the language perfect, because I don't want to make a recommendation that's from the HPD without an HPD member.
Alternatively, yeah, if you wanna email me that, I can quickly look
Okay.
at that.
Perfect, yeah, either we can stay late
So
or
I
I can email it
yeah,
to you.
quickly look at that.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you. I'll take it
Perfect.
right after this meeting, and then I can send it over.
Is it worth also adding something now to address Mr. Reardon's issue of should the municipality or a utility need to replace bricks with bricks to match, that they get their stock from the streets that are on the list that we know may not be preserved?
It's gonna be controversial.
I
too,
don't know
because
if
then
we
you're gonna
have that
streets-
power. Let me say, I don't know if the municipality has the power by virtue of this issuance of a permit, which is the only action being taken by the municipality to impose on the utility whatever conditions we want.
Well, they certainly should have the power to say, you can't just take your brick from anywhere. So-
They have the power
What
to-
you could be creating by saying that though, is you could have a yellow brick street and that if there are no bricks that can be taken from that street, they put red in the middle of it. So that would be the concern, is not matching. So if you were to say the bricks have to come from that street, if there are no bricks.
Well, I'm saying that you have a pool of like 15 or 20 streets to choose from. You probably can find either a red one or a brick or a yellow one that's gonna be a match. And not tear up a street that's on the preserve list.
There are companies that will manufacture these bricks
That's right.
to the elder specifications, and I think we just need to hold the utility companies to say, hey, no, you go buy those
That's
bricks,
what
it's
I
gonna
was
cost you a little more money, but that's part of the deal, right? The wording is they are to replace that street as it was before they tore it up. And if they can't find the materials, if they have to replace some of those materials, it's up to them to go out and buy them. You can buy them, actually. You can even buy old used bricks, but there are companies that manufacture bricks to the historic specification of the old bricks too. They obviously just didn't want to bother doing that. And they,
I think that, sorry to interrupt you for that.
so that's, I mean, I think it's the utility companies we have to hold their feet to the fire here on, because that's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what happened in that situation, so I feel like I need a little more information, like for all I know, we could have advised that they do that for a reason I don't understand. You know,
Yeah.
we meaning like municipality could have said, no, we want you to do that. So let me just try to get those questions answered, maybe before we put it in, because I'd hate to cause like more problems then.
I think we need to think about it a little bit further about really how much power we have in our policy to impose requirements. I don't think we have any power in our policy to
No.
impose requirements on utilities. Question is whether we have power in our policy to condition the issuance of the permit on creating additional contractual permit obligations on the part of the utility. So like, replace it with X, Y, and Z colors or something functionally equivalent to what's there. To me, there's more of a contract enforcement not a contract for a permit enforcement question of looking at, photo A, photo B of what's there now and saying, dear utility, these are not functionally equivalent. And I think the municipality's probably already got that right.
That's why we have usually pretty good standards. Outlook looks good. Sorry.
Let's do think further to your point. Let's do think further about, what we can bake into this policy that affects that.
So I'll do those two things. We'll work with you primarily, but maybe Phil to get the language exactly right in just that one sentence. Is that the only section the only sentence really that was up for any kind of discussion? Everything else was 100% with everybody?
Looked good to me.
Yeah, okay, we'll work on that.
So if I may, in terms of those, there are certain points in which I made revisions, textual
Yes.
revisions, and then comments, which
couple
are really
comments.
comments to the commission.
Yes, I appreciate that. I really like that you kept that in there. That's very, very helpful. So that way I
Great.
take that to the full commission and
Great,
try to
Okay.
get input at least an answer.
terrific.
All right, public education.
I'm sorry, I'm circling right back. I'm so sorry. Just there's one little open piece.
Yeah.
We are not recommending that all residents at this point in time who are on the list of not be reconstructed as brick be notified, correct?
Well, and I'm glad you raised that. I should have raised this other, one of my comments was. This policy says there's a priority in terms of preservation of streets in the historic district. I don't know why that would be. I feel like we got pretty consistent feedback, or anyway, CMU got pretty consistent feedback from their polling. Indicating a pretty strong, broad support, not only among people who live on brick streets, but people who don't live on brick streets about preservation. And of course, we're certainly talking about this tension about costs, there's a real
Right.
tension. But I would have trouble articulating to a resident who doesn't live in the historic district why there would be a focus on preservation of ones in the historic district versus theirs.
I see that comment. I think that comment's really captures it.
So I'd suggest, just discuss that at the commission level and, maybe there's a good reason for that, but
Yeah,
We're making that point over and over again for a number of years, that some of it comes back to the PennDOT study. The PennDOT study was based on federal regulations specifically, and that's why the historic district
yeah.
boundaries were critical there. But all of this brick streets have historic value for the municipality. And that the federal criteria for the district boundaries are totally arbitrary.
Yeah.
When that district was established, basically we set up the boundaries because we ran out of money
Right.
to keep doing the work necessary to make the district even larger. So that boundary is totally arbitrary. And so that's not a good thing to, criteria to use. It's not fair to those folks who happen to be just on the other side of that boundary,
Right.
as the people on Duquesne Street were, and they were not happy.
Yeah, I've talked about that a
Yeah.
bunch with, the commission brought it up. Thanks to you guys bringing it up to me. But
Okay.
I'll bring it in.
sorry for that.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Sorry.
But so no, would you like to notify all residents right now that are on the list based on the policy passing? Because policy just, passed a couple months ago.
I
No,
don't
it's not.
personally feel the need to do it. I feel like, like any municipal action. You can participate, you can read commission minutes, you can read commission policies, and that's how the general public informs themselves. So while this is personally near and dear to my heart,
There's other processes in place, so when it actually impacts them, as long as we have those other triggers, those two other
I think
triggers.
we should advertise that there is a new brick policy. And people can go and look at it, right?
I
And
think that's.
that, because historic preservation does come down to public participation, public comment. There's nothing that says there's a hard line saying you've got to preserve this. It's all about having conversations, coming up with compromises in terms of being able, what we can preserve, what we can't preserve. And if we don't have conversations, that's when we have people have to come in here and are upset, because they didn't know, because there wasn't communication. So, yeah, I don't think we need to send out an actual letter to every single person living on a brick street, say, oh, here's your classification right now, here's the policy. To everyone.
So do a better job advertising the policy, maybe after we've done the couple edits that we
Sure.
recommend.
Well, and I was asked to wait till after the comprehensive plan, just because Ian couldn't give it his full attention, so we
Right.
had planned to give it publicity and get a story in the magazine, but literally the comprehensive plan was.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I would just do it, frankly, I'd do it after the adoption of the policy, but I would look to disseminate it.
Hopefully we can get most of those edits in that we're recommending and then maybe that'll line up with comprehensive plan being done. Okay, great.
Right, anything about else, the brick streets we need to talk about tonight?
That was a good one. We got.
That's,
Good.
all right. Public education. Alan, where are we?
Okay, so we have confirmed the December 5th lecture with Teresa Duff. I believe I sent everybody here a link. I know so far 10 people have signed up, so
Oh, good.
please disseminate that as widely as you can. The room can seat like 55, so we have a ways to go to fill it up. So that's on schedule for Tuesday, December 5th at 7 o'clock.
I'll be a budget, unfortunately, the budget session, right here.
Yeah, me too, I told them the same.
Yeah.
So, yep. So we'll just continue to try to get the word out. The library can have some coffee and tea for people who come, and
Nice.
I buy a cookie tray or something to take or whatever, so we're all good there. On the This Old Sustainable House series for next year, we were doing great. We got all of our speakers lined up. We got all the dates lined up.
Oh, man.
I forwarded it to the library and they rejected 5 of our 7 speakers because they work for private companies. They didn't explain that to me when I was talking about setting the whole thing up. They thought it was a great idea. So.
It is
anyway,
understandable though, I think.
yeah, and I had even explained that, our policies about, they can't promote themselves, this is supposed to be educational, and it still wasn't satisfactory. So we've started looking at different venues. Mary Ellen has offered as one option, doing it at the Howard Hanna offices on Washington Road. They can seat like 60, you said?
Yes, and the regional manager also said if they would be willing to help provide snacks, they would do that as well, just to public.
Be nice.
So that's one potential option. I did touch base with Mike Gullo to see if he had any influence with getting a space at the high school. Apparently on Tuesday nights in the spring, they have continuing education classes that tend to book up most of the spaces, so that's really not an option. I touched base with the recreation center, got information. They have space available on 2 of the 3 dates that we had picked, the first 2 dates, but not the 3rd date. They have a room charge of about $71 an hour, so it'd be about, say, $150 for each of the 2.
Which room?
I don't know.
The okay.
It's one of those upstairs rooms where
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
When you talked to the library about the event, did you ask them to be a co-presenter or just to use their rooms?
Oh,
The reason I ask this is Dan Miller had a seminar there with a lawyer on elder care issues that they had there and there was no problem with it.
I was gonna say, I was thinking of other things they posted that were private businesses or a
Correct.
private person.
But they're not a co-presenter. It's basically you're just using this space. So how did you have that present that to them?
I didn't say that. I just asked if we could hold it there. And at first they said yes, and then I coordinated and sent them the list of speakers, and then they said, we can take the fire chief and we can take Mike Gullo, but we can't take the other 5.
Well, it must be different for Dan because I don't know what, but.
Well,
yeah, that doesn't make any sense, actually, if it's.
I haven't talked to the head of the library. I guess the one person I was dealing with, he talked to his superior, but it wasn't all the way to the top of the library, so.
Yeah.
I could. Anyway, I've also contacted Southminster Church and St. Paul's Church. St. Paul's has a policy that they have a board of directors that has to approve things. So we won't know for a while, but that's also during Lent, and they seem to have a lot of activities during Lent. So that may not be as possible. Southminster seemed to be more open. I think the dates were there, but I won't know for like another week and a half until the minister gets back from his Thanksgiving break and comes back. So, that is still sort of uncertain. So I'm not concerned that we're not going to find a place. It's just, if we want to start advertising and have something for you by beginning of December to advertise for January.
Well, I would need that like now for
Right.
it's 2 months out. So to get in the January issue, we would have needed it at the beginning of November. I could probably still slide it in now if you're 100% sure, but I can't do what we did before and pull it off when it's at the printer because that costs money.
Yeah.
So,
I think the only way we would be doing that is if we went with Howard Hanna for all 3
Yeah.
and had the same
and then
venue.
we can, I was gonna say, we just have to use we'd still have the March magazine that we can get the March sessions in. We just have to use our digital outreach, our newsletters and our website and social media. Stuff like that. Certainly. There's other ways to get it out, but if you're.
Magazine's the best way.
Magazine is the best way. It hits more people and it does get an older
I was
demographic.
just gonna- Yeah, the demographic seems right on the
But,
money.
but literally, we're putting that magazine together right now.
So could we say for the location, because the dates are solid, right?
Yes, everybody's agreed to
The
the
speakers
dates.
are solid.
Yes,
See this website for the location? We give them a URL somewhere. I know we can't give them a municipal one necessarily, but you give them a different URL. Or
What's
to
your
register.
hard deadline for the magazine?
It was the beginning of the month.
Oh, it was.
Right now, we're in layout, so,
Darn it,
yeah, we've
okay,
already written everything and
okay.
then we've got the holiday coming up here, which kind of messes with our schedule too.
So, sorry, how many meetings are we talking about here?
there's three
Sessions.
sessions.
If it was somebody's email or
Say
something
if I
better
may,
than
if
nothing.
Howard Hanna's receptive to having it there, that's not a
They were very,
position.
so, I think I mentioned this before, but the manager of the Mount Lebanon office is retiring as of December 31st. They hope by mid-December, the new manager will be announced. So I went to the regional manager to say, can we have these dates? Can we use the space? And he was 100% on board. We don't really have meetings or trainings or anything in the evenings anyway, so it's
Okay.
not a big deal.
And where's parking, just the garages that we have and everything?
We have the lot behind that
Okay,
building too,
perfect.
or the
That's nice.
street or the
Yeah.
garage. But
I
it's.
think we should just go ahead with Howard Hanna. The receptive time is an issue. You know, I mean,
Appreciate that
Central
problem
located,
solution.
free, yeah.
Right, right.
And we solve it right now.
People go to other Howard Hanna events all the time. With like the home tour thing and stuff like that, that sort of stuff, so.
So then I guess my question is, if it holds 60 people, how do you want people to register for that?
I wasn't sure, but that's what I had asked, like, how do we plan it?
Eventbrite is pretty easy to set up, but I mean, if we get more than 60 people, I don't know, I'm gonna. be really
Fall out of
happy.
my chair.
I'll do something. I don't know what it's gonna be. We can do our best job advertising it, but I don't know.
You just do a Google form registration. Sign up that way. I mean, that's
Good idea, like a tiny URL right now, like.
what we do in my job. We
Or
just make,
Well, tell me what's great, we're not allowed to use Google.
oh, you can't use Google.
But like, you can put a tiny URL in the link
Mhm.
on what you're advertising, and then I can set up a Google form, right?
Mhm.
That's not you doing it,
As long as you're gonna,
or an Eventbrite or something,
the
as long as I give you a tiny URL.
Eventbrite, that works. People are used to Eventbrite.
And sorry, when's the next one?
The first one is
February 9th.
February 20th.
Say, let's see what kind of attendance we get there, if it looks really close in terms of numbers.
But you need to advertise all three of the events right
Yes.
now.
Okay, but I mean, if we absolutely need to, we can change a venue. Let me just say, that seems unlikely that that's gonna be a problem.
I mean, how many people come to the
Well, if you turn people away, it'll be like, oh,
standing room only?
they want, yeah, they really wanna be there.
That's right. Heinz Field, I'll check with them tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, am I making the Eventbrite or the Google form? Did I just say that's what I'm doing? Which one did you guys care?
You can't do a Google form?
She can, but
I
we
can't.
Oh, you
Yeah.
can.
But just any municipal employee can't. That's all.
I mean, I could use a personal email to use Google thing, we have to use our personal accounts, so.
Maybe if you wouldn't mind, that'd be
Event-
great.
Eventbrite is okay with people, because that's what I've
Yes.
done
Say
before, so it's gonna be
Eventbrite.
faster for me.
Yeah,
so-
do whatever's fastest.
Okay.
And people are used to that for municipal events.
I can make a Google form, but it doesn't have the same easy RSVP for me, but. Okay, good. And then does anyone have a picture or any image that they want to send
We
me?
have the poster, but it still said the library on it.
Oh, I had to throw them away, so yeah, they. all
Wasn't I
had
mean,
the wrong.
we could just fix that.
Is it a digital
location.
version?
There's a digital version, but I don't know if he's coming back in time
To get the digital
to
version?
get, yeah, 'cause that's why I had to slot it in then, because he's on leave right now. Let me see what I can do.
did you send us all a digital version? And with email, you sent something by email to us,
Oh,
right?
we have it?
Well, but it had the library.
It has
Okay, that's
I
gonna
know.
be edited.
It's easy to,
My
you
kid
just
can do that
edit it
for me.
out.
Right.
Exactly.
I can't do it. Well, any one of my kids can do it.
I don't know how you sent it, I can't.
Oh, it's a
It was a
PDF.
It was just a
Yeah,
PDF, yeah, because he
PDF,
uses
okay.
InDesign, so,
Okay,
but I mean, he can
Okay.
make more, it just will probably be after break.
so where is it? Is it an email? I search my email, I'll find it.
The poster?
Yeah, that poster.
Sure.
Okay, that's what I'll make. See if I can find it. Okay, cool.
What's the address of those offices?
It's 701 Washington Road. 15228.
I'll update my synopsis and send it to you as well. That makes things easy.
Yeah.
So I can let the other people know that, hey, we found another place. Thank you. So. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
I just made one phone call. So that- So you know.
Well, I think it will be a nice series to cover lots of different topics, and the speakers seemed excited about,
Yeah,
being able
definitely.
to present about different things, so.
Perfect.
All right, advisory board transition, are we still going through that?
No. No, I'm not gonna be here.
Yeah, that's right,
You
you
going through it? Yeah.
could be your last meeting with us,
Do we have a December meeting?
yeah,
That's true.
unless we have to, we
I'll
usually don't.
Offer, if it's Jeff Siegler, I'm offering to come to his first meeting as an introduced people. So I don't know who the commission liaison will be for that interim period, but I'm guessing it's gonna be Commissioner Jeff Siegler, who is very excited about historic preservation, loves brick streets, has a very keen eye for design. So I hope so. 'Cause will no longer be your commissioner.
Is there anything else to report on that?
Yeah, on track.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Comprehensive plan, you already said what I was gonna say. If you haven't had a chance to make your comments, get on board online, make your comments.
Has it come across, or anybody have anything they wanna say that they've heard so far? Any thoughts?
As I said last month, you know, because I went and a presentation of the draft at the planning. I was pleased with the tone of it. I mean, there's not a lot in the way of specifics related to, okay, we are gonna preserve
Yeah.
this particular building or anything like that. But overall, that was historic, historic character was consideration in a lot of the elements that I heard about, so. I was pleased with that part. Hey, Economic Development Council, anything to report there?
Yeah, so, we accelerated this month's meeting to Friday, and so I've got a few things to report from the last two meetings. Okay, the active transportation plan. We've got a presentation of that to lay groundwork for the active transportation plan. So the general idea of that, I know I've said this a million times, but is to facilitate modes other than automobiles to develop a balanced, equitable transportation system. So that plan now references the brick streets policy, which is reassuring. Lebanon's proposing to budget 80 grand for to further explore active transportation, and is seeking $100,000 grant from the Department of Transportation to further explore active transportation, and is pursuing a partnership with Dormont to facilitate a shared plan, which will be very interesting. To me, that's a very interesting idea to work with that municipality. Okay, the PHMC design guideline grant of 10 grand. This new design guidelines are completed. So that's the facade renovation toolkit. So you may recollect, we talked about the business community's availability of grants to update and refresh and develop facades. And so there's a grant for them to develop a toolkit for that, which will be helpful for those businesses. Then the Vibrant Uptown update. So the construction plan is wrapping up. Its punch list items are being completed, so joy to the world of that. I'm sure from everybody.
That's why I get my railing.
Right, there's problems with the railing that I heard that came up. I'm not sure what the railing is.
Put the railing right outside
The
this
front-
building.
the front
Yeah.
door.
I guess so.
See the plywood?
So that's, the struggle is real on this railing. And then just a few items of gossip. So La Pizzetta is opening where Pizza Padamo was located. So that'll be another
What's it, what is it?
La Pizzetta,
Delicious.
delicious.
Does it-
Excellent.
Did it already open? There's no.
Um,
La Pizza.
So it has opened. I think it's open. So that's interesting. So looking forward to trying that. And then a new retail shop called Bows and Bones focused on
I
dogs
saw that.
is opening uptown. So that's interesting. I didn't hear anything about, I did hear a great deal about Bados. To the effect of people are up in arms, like really torqued up, but closure of Bados. The answer to which is
Wanna buy it?
ready to close.
Wanna buy it?
Exactly, wanna buy it. That's the answer.
Right, Eric was animated about that, funny conversation. Okay, the former PNC space has been leased to a high-end retail tailoring shop. And then Vinyl Remains is expanding and will add vintage home furnishings. And then there will be an autumn uptown business mixer, the first since COVID at 5:30 on November 9th, which is past us, sorry, at Spring Hill Suites uptown. So
It was
anyway,
awesome. It was really fun.
good.
I had a
That's-
Retail tailoring?
That's what they say.
What about
I didn't
Revon? That's
see
gonna
one.
be
That's right.
competition.
I think
That's an unfair
I was wondering, 'cause I
characterization of
thought
it.
there was
Oh,
an
is it?
AC and
Okay.
there was plumbing and there was somebody, because I live right there.
Yeah.
I like
And I was
Revon.
like, somebody had your
Nice.
dogs.
So I guess I do wonder if that's, you
No.
know, active sewing machine like tailoring or couture.
Is it the one that was up on Washington Road across from,
I can't say in a public meeting, ma'am. Perhaps we could have a private discussion.
Okay.
What was the second update you gave? The second thing you said, about, business.
Oh, there was that business meeting which has already occurred, so
yeah.
this is not a
Okay.
timely notice of it, sorry.
Okay.
That's all.
All right, thanks, Matt. Grace, you have anything to report to the Historical Society?
Yes, because of the way that the month fell, this time, my meeting for Historical Society was before this meeting. So they have like the every other month meetings, and they also had their all members meetings, so normally they're just board meetings. For the board members, but they had one for their annual all members meeting as well this past Wednesday. A lot of people attended. They have an enormous amount of members that are actually active and renew their subscriptions. It's in the thousands, which is really,
Awesome.
really surprising. But people are super gung-ho about it, and they obviously their annual event was extremely successful. It was sold out. And their auction went really, really well. They are looking to add additional hours to open the Historical Society because there's demand for it.
That's right.
And so they're going to probably add hours in December during like holiday times, possibly on like Wednesday nights they're thinking, or Thursday nights, because people coming for like light up nights and different holiday shopping stuff. There's a demand there, and I certainly think so as well. So they are going to be adding additional hours really, really soon. And then likely in January, they're going to be issuing a public call for additional volunteers to sort of staff that, because it is mostly volunteer based. And then finally, they had elections for board members because they have like term limits on their board members. So they, Jeff, I always forget his last name, who was the president. Yes, Jeff Hurd, thank you. He has reached his term limit, so he's no longer president of the Historical Society. And they still need two board members in order to meet their quota or whatever. So yeah, meet their quorum. So they're looking for people to do that as well. I might do that just because I I love spending time with those people. They're so fun. So I'm considering doing that as well, starting in January. But yeah, that's pretty much it for them.
Great, well, thank you. Planning board, meeting, Marilyn.
They had a meeting last month. Were you gonna go to that? Phil?
Yes, I did report on that because that was before this meeting.
Oh, that's right. And there was none this month, so we're,
Yeah.
yeah. There were
Basically,
no
we've
applications.
got a presentation on the draft of the comprehensive plan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's basically,
and
yeah.
what we were doing, okay. All right, partnership design, anything,
We did not have a meeting this month.
hey. Anything else for the good of the order?
December meeting.
Yes, we need to talk about the December meeting. Generally, we have not need to have a December meeting because it's the holidays or close enough to it that a lot of people can't come. So I don't know that we have anything pressing. You might want to just go ahead and plan not to have that.
You can still have a committee meeting for the events if you wanted to do that, so you can still get your business done.
That'd be on the 18th, right?
Yep.
18th, but
Yeah, I don't know if I have any more business since we have a place now, so.
Right, I mean, since
Do
we
it basically
decided that,
reporting back on how Teresa Duff's lecture would be, so. I don't need to be.
okay,
Cancel.
we will go ahead and cancel that meeting. Like I say, a committee, the small groups can meet to get work done, but we don't need to have a formal meeting. Because
would
we
make
would
your
probably have
next-
trouble coming up with a quorum anyway.
Right, so that would make your next meeting January 15th.
Okay, so our next January 15th at 5 p.m. will be our next meeting.
Sounds so far away.
yeah, so that's the day, there's a day off school that day.
I was gonna say, I
Martin Luther King.
Yes, I brought it up several years ago and again this year, and I was told it's a day of service, so it's volunteer board service.
That's
So
our
I
service.
lost that argument.
Right. We have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned.
I'm working with you all.
Thank you all.